They laughed when he took the blind Apache girl home, until she did the impossible. He lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone, and life moved at a pace that left little room for surprises. He worked at a local workshop, fixing machines and helping neighbors with small repairs. Though he was respected for his skills, he often felt there was something missing in his life, a spark, a connection that went beyond the ordinary routines of his town. One bright afternoon, the town hosted a community gathering at the small park near the edge of town. It was the kind of event where families gathered, children ran freely, and the air was filled with the smell of fresh baked goods and laughter. Daniel rarely attended these gatherings, preferring quiet walks or reading alone under the shade of the old oak tree behind his home. But that day, something nudged him to join the crowd. Perhaps it was the promise of seeing friends, or maybe it was simply the feeling that life had more to offer than his usual routine. As he walked through the park, he noticed a group of children playing near the fountain, their laughter echoing in the warm afternoon air. Among them, he saw a girl he had never met before. She was sitting calmly on a bench, a small white cane resting beside her. Her dark hair fell softly over her shoulders, and even though she did not look at anyone directly, her presence seemed to command attention. There was a calm confidence in her posture, a quiet strength that intrigued him immediately. Daniel approached slowly, unsure of how to introduce himself. "Hi," he said gently, not wanting to startle her. The girl turned her head slightly in his direction and smiled. "Hello," she replied, her voice soft but clear. Her name was Maya, and as Daniel soon learned, she was blind. She had been born into a proud Apache family and had grown up learning to navigate the world without sight. Her parents had taught her to rely on her other senses, hearing, touch, even smell, and over the years she had become remarkably independent. But despite her abilities, Daniel noticed that people in the town often treated her differently. Some were polite but distant, while others whispered behind her back, expressing doubt or pity. Daniel felt a mix of curiosity and admiration for Maya. She did not seem sad or defeated by her blindness. Instead, there was a quiet joy in her presence. He introduced himself and soon found himself talking with her about simple things: music, the weather, the rhythm of life in their town. She spoke about her favorite songs, describing them not just by melody, but by how they made her feel. Daniel listened, fascinated by the depth of her understanding, the way she could paint a picture with words even without seeing the colors and shapes he took for granted. As the afternoon passed, more people noticed the interaction between Daniel and Maya. Some smiled quietly, thinking it was sweet. Others, however, were less kind. Why would he waste his time with her? A woman whispered to her friend, shaking her head. "She's blind, she can't do much." Daniel overheard the murmurs but did not let them bother him. He had never been one to follow the crowd, and he saw something in Maya that others had missed. There was intelligence, courage, and a unique perspective on life that he found deeply inspiring. He realized that getting to know her was not about charity or pity. It was about understanding a remarkable person who had faced challenges most people could not imagine. Maya, too, was cautious. She had learned over the years that not everyone who approached her had good intentions. Some people were curious, some were kind, but others had a subtle way of treating her as fragile or incapable. Yet, something about Daniel felt different. He spoke with sincerity, listened carefully, and treated her as an equal. By the time the sun began to dip behind the hills, Maya felt a sense of ease she had rarely experienced with strangers. Before leaving the park, Daniel asked if he could see her again. Maya hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes," she said, "I'd like that." That simple agreement marked the beginning of something neither of them could have predicted. Daniel went home that evening with a lightness in his heart, a feeling of excitement he hadn't felt in years. Maya returned to her family, her mind replaying the conversation, the warmth of his smile, and the sense that someone truly saw her, not just her blindness but her spirit. Over the next few days, Daniel found reasons to visit the park, hoping to meet Maya again. Each encounter revealed more about her resilience, intelligence, and humor. They talked about everything, from their favorite books to their dreams for the future. Daniel shared stories of his childhood, the adventures he had explored in his town, and the quiet moments of reflection that shaped him. Maya, in turn, spoke of her family, her culture, and the ways she had learned to adapt and thrive despite her disability. Yet outside their growing friendship, the town continued to whisper. Some people questioned Daniel's choices, mocking him behind closed doors. Why would he spend time with a blind girl? They asked. There's nothing he can gain from this. Others expressed concern for Maya, worrying that she might be taken advantage of or hurt. These murmurs created an invisible pressure, a backdrop of skepticism that loomed over every meeting between Daniel and Maya. Despite the whispers, Daniel remained steadfast. He was drawn not by pity or obligation but by genuine admiration and curiosity. He wanted to learn from Maya as much as she could learn from him. And Maya, for her part, began to sense that Daniel's intentions were sincere. She noticed the patience in his voice, the care in his gestures, and the way he treated her as a person capable of thought, feeling, and action. One afternoon, as they sat by the fountain watching children play, Daniel asked Maya a simple question. "Do you ever feel limited by what people think you can't do?" Maya paused, her fingers tracing the edge of the bench. "Sometimes," she admitted. "But I've learned that the only limits that truly matter are the ones I place on myself." Daniel smiled, feeling a deep respect for her courage. He realized that meeting Maya was more than chance. It was a turning point in his own life. He saw a world through her perspective, one filled not with obstacles but with possibilities. And for Maya, Daniel represented someone who believed in her when so many others doubted, someone willing to see her potential rather than her disability. As the sun set that evening, casting long shadows across the park, both Daniel and Maya felt a quiet excitement about the future. They knew that their journey together would not be easy. There would be skepticism, challenges, and perhaps even ridicule. But in that moment, neither of them cared. They had discovered a connection that transcended appearances and expectations, a bond built on trust, respect, and genuine curiosity about each other's worlds. Little did they know, this simple meeting at the park was the first step in a journey that would test their courage, challenge their limits, and ultimately reveal the extraordinary strength within Maya, a strength that would surprise everyone, including those who had laughed at the very idea of them being together. And so the story began. Two people, drawn together by curiosity and courage, stepping into a world full of challenges, but also full of hope, unaware that their friendship would soon turn into something that could change not just their lives, but the way their entire town saw what was truly possible. After their first meeting at the park, Daniel and Maya began spending more time together. At first, it was simple and cautious, short walks, quiet conversations on the benches, and sharing small pieces of their daily lives. Yet, even these small moments were significant. For Daniel, it was a chance to see the world differently, to appreciate subtle sounds, textures, and feelings that he had never noticed before. For Maya, it was an opportunity to experience friendship in its purest form, someone who treated her as capable and strong rather than fragile and dependent. Despite the growing connection between them, the town remained skeptical. People whispered in shops, at school, and during church gatherings. "Why does he spend so much time with her?" some asked. "He could be with someone who sees the world the way we all do." Others shook their heads and muttered, "She's blind. He must be helping her, not actually caring for her." Daniel tried not to let the words affect him. He knew that most people feared what they did not understand, and Maya's blindness seemed to many like an obstacle rather than a part of who she was. One afternoon, Daniel invited Maya to his home. It was a modest house on the edge of town, filled with the scent of old wood and oil from his workshop. As he opened the door, Maya hesitated. She had never been to his home before and was nervous about stepping into a new environment. Daniel noticed her uncertainty and offered his hand. "I'll guide you," he said gently. She accepted, trusting him. Once inside, Daniel encouraged Maya to explore the space at her own pace. "This is your visit too," he reminded her. She ran her fingers over the wooden table, traced the edges of the chairs, and carefully felt the texture of the rug beneath her feet. She listened intently to the subtle sounds around her, the ticking of a clock, the hum of the old refrigerator, and the soft rustling of leaves outside the window. During that visit, Daniel and Maya talked more deeply than they had before. He shared stories from his childhood, how he learned to fix broken bicycles for the neighborhood children, the time he spent exploring the hills around town, and his quiet evenings reading books under the old oak tree. Maya listened, absorbing each detail, often asking thoughtful questions that showed her curiosity and sharp mind. In return, Maya shared pieces of her life that few people knew. She spoke about growing up in her Apache family, learning traditional songs and stories passed down through generations. She explained how she learned to navigate her world, relying on her senses in ways most people took for granted. She talked about the challenges she faced, from navigating crowded streets to learning to use modern technology without sight. Daniel was captivated, not by her struggles, but by her resilience, intelligence, and optimism. As the days passed, their friendship deepened. They explored new activities together, listening to music while describing the instruments and rhythms, cooking simple meals with Maya carefully guiding her hands, and even attempting small hikes near the outskirts of town with Daniel leading the way. Each experience revealed more of Maya's determination and unique perspective. Daniel was constantly amazed at how she could sense the environment around her, often noticing details he had overlooked. Yet, not everyone approved. Rumors in the town grew louder, and Daniel began hearing harsh comments from people he had once considered friends. "He's being foolish," one neighbor said. "She can't see anything. How can she make decisions for herself?" Daniel felt a mix of frustration and sadness. He knew their words came from fear and misunderstanding, but it stung all the same. Still, he refused to let those opinions define his relationship with Maya. He saw her strength, her courage, and her determination to live life fully, and he admired her for it. Maya, too, faced moments of doubt. She had experienced people underestimating her entire life, and sometimes it was hard not to internalize their opinions. But Daniel's presence gave her confidence. For the first time, she felt that someone truly believed in her abilities. He treated her as an equal, listened to her ideas, and encouraged her to take risks, even small ones, that she might never have attempted alone. One day, Daniel suggested they try something daring, a short hike along a trail that ran through the nearby woods. It was not a long trail, but it required careful steps and attention to the uneven terrain. Maya hesitated. "I've never done anything like this alone," she admitted, gripping her cane. Daniel smiled reassuringly. "I'll be with you every step. You'll see you can do more than you think." Step by step, they moved along the trail. Daniel described the scenery around them, the rustling leaves, the chirping birds, and the gentle flow of a stream nearby. Maya listened closely, letting her imagination paint the picture as he spoke. At times, she stumbled on a rock or uneven route, but Daniel was there, steadying her and encouraging her. By the time they reached a small clearing, Maya was smiling broadly. "I never thought I could do this," she said, her voice filled with pride. "I feel free." That day marked a turning point. Maya realized that her blindness did not define her limits. It was simply a part of who she was. Daniel's unwavering support gave her the courage to try new things, even when others doubted her. Their bond grew stronger, built on trust, shared experiences, and a deep understanding of each other's worlds. As they continued to spend time together, Daniel and Maya began to face more direct challenges from the community. Some people openly criticized Daniel, questioning his judgment and intentions. Others made rude jokes or avoided them entirely, unwilling to confront their own prejudices. At first, these reactions frustrated both Daniel and Maya. But over time, they learned to ignore the negativity and focus on what mattered most: their friendship, mutual respect, and the experiences they shared. Maya also began to challenge herself in new ways. With Daniel's encouragement, she started learning skills that many thought were impossible for a blind person. She practiced navigating the town more independently, learning shortcuts and memorizing routes. She explored new hobbies, like playing musical instruments and experimenting with tactile art. Each accomplishment, no matter how small, became a victory, proof that she could overcome obstacles that others assumed were insurmountable. Daniel watched her growth with admiration. He often reflected on the first day they met, how she had captivated him with her calm confidence and intelligence. Now, seeing her take on challenges with determination and courage, he felt a deep sense of pride. He realized that their relationship was not about him helping her, nor her needing his assistance. It was about two people learning from each other, pushing each other to grow, and sharing the joy of discovery. Through these shared experiences, they also began to develop a quiet, unspoken understanding. They could communicate in small gestures, subtle changes in tone, and shared laughter. Daniel learned to describe the world in ways that Maya could understand and appreciate, while Maya taught him to notice the nuances he had never paid attention to before. Their friendship was evolving into a partnership built on patience, respect, and a profound sense of connection. One evening, as they sat on the porch of Daniel's home watching the sunset, Maya spoke softly. "People don't see what I can do," she said. "They only see what I can't." Daniel took her hand gently. "Then let's show them," he said, "not by proving them wrong, but by proving to ourselves what's possible." Maya smiled, a sense of determination lighting her eyes. She knew that the journey ahead would not be easy. The whispers, doubts, and prejudices of the town would not disappear overnight. But with Daniel by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges came next. Together, they began planning small adventures, setting goals, and preparing to step beyond the limits that others had imposed on them. And so, their story continued. Two young people, defying expectations, building trust, and discovering the extraordinary potential within themselves and each other. They were no longer just Daniel and Maya. They were a team, bound by friendship, courage, and a shared belief that life was meant to be experienced fully, regardless of the obstacles. Little did they know, the challenges and triumphs that awaited them would test their courage, resilience, and determination in ways they could not yet imagine. But in that quiet, shared understanding, they had taken the first steps towards something remarkable, a journey that would inspire not only themselves but everyone around them, eventually transforming the way the town saw both Maya and the possibilities of the human spirit. As the days passed, Daniel and Maya grew closer. Their friendship had evolved into something rare and beautiful, a bond built on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. Yet, despite their growing connection, the town remained skeptical. Gossip followed them wherever they went. Some people shook their heads in disapproval, whispering that Daniel was making a mistake, while others expressed pity for Maya, believing that her blindness made her fragile and incapable of handling the world on her own. Daniel, however, refused to be swayed by the whispers. He saw something in Maya that others could not: her strength, intelligence, and determination. Each time someone doubted her, he felt a quiet resolve to stand by her side, not to argue with the town, but to quietly show through actions that their assumptions were wrong. For Daniel, this was no longer just about friendship. It had become a matter of principle. He believed in Maya, and that belief gave her courage. Maya, for her part, had grown stronger. With Daniel's support, she had begun to challenge the limits that others assumed were imposed on her. She learned to navigate the town independently, memorizing streets, alleys, and landmarks with astonishing accuracy. She practiced listening to the subtle sounds of her surroundings, the distant barking of a dog, the hum of passing cars, and the rhythmic footsteps of pedestrians. With each small success, she gained confidence. Each time she returned home without assistance, she felt a quiet triumph that no one else seemed to notice. One afternoon, Daniel suggested they attend a town fair together. Maya hesitated. Fairs were busy, noisy, and overwhelming, with people rushing past, music blaring, and scents of food and smoke mixing in the air. But Daniel reassured her, "We'll take it slow. I'll be right here with you." At first, Maya felt anxious. The crowd pressed close, and she struggled to hear Daniel's voice over the din of laughter, shouts, and music. But gradually, she began to trust her senses, listening carefully to the rhythm of the crowd, feeling vibrations through the wooden planks beneath her feet, and following Daniel's verbal guidance. Together, they navigated the fairground with ease, stopping at food stalls, listening to music, and watching children play games. Some townspeople noticed them and snickered. "Look at him," one man whispered, "leading her around like a child." Others muttered, "She'll never be able to enjoy anything on her own." Daniel ignored them, focusing instead on Maya's reactions. He could sense her growing confidence and delight, her laughter bright and genuine as she tasted new foods and listened to a band play lively tunes. For the first time, Maya realized that she could experience joy fully, even in situations that others thought would overwhelm her. As the day went on, Daniel and Maya encountered a challenge that tested her skills. A small game booth offered a memory and skill challenge. Players had to remember a series of sounds and follow instructions to win a prize. Many in the crowd assumed Maya could not participate. "Why bother?" someone whispered. "She can't see the targets, she'll fail." But Daniel smiled and encouraged her. "You can do this, just trust yourself." Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward, guided by the sound cues. She listened intently, memorized the sequence, and completed the challenge with remarkable precision. The crowd fell silent, stunned at her performance. Daniel grinned proudly, knowing that Maya had just proven something important, not just to the onlookers but to herself. From that day, whispers in the town began to change. People were still skeptical, but some looked at Maya differently. They began to realize that she was not defined by her blindness, but by her courage, intelligence, and determination. Yet, challenges remained. Some townspeople still doubted Daniel's intentions, questioning why he would spend so much time with a blind girl. Others criticized Maya, suggesting that her achievements were lucky or trivial. These opinions could have been discouraging, but Daniel and Maya had learned to ignore the negativity. They focused on each other and the small victories that strengthened their bond. Maya also began taking on more responsibilities at home. She learned to cook new recipes, organize her room, and assist her family in ways that required careful coordination and focus. Each task built her independence, and Daniel often praised her progress. "You're amazing," he would say, smiling. "I'm proud of you." Maya would blush but feel a quiet pride herself. She was learning to trust her own abilities, and Daniel's encouragement gave her confidence to push further. One day, Daniel suggested they take a longer hike into the hills outside town. The path was rocky and uneven, and many people thought it was too dangerous for Maya. "Are you sure?" she asked nervously. Daniel nodded. "We'll do it together, step by step. I know you can manage it." The hike was challenging. Maya stumbled at times, lost her footing on loose rocks, and had to pause frequently. But Daniel remained patient, offering guidance and steadying her when needed. Slowly, step by step, they climbed higher. As they reached the top of a hill, a breathtaking view stretched out before them. The town below, fields extending to the horizon, and the sun casting golden light across the landscape. Maya stood silently, absorbing the scene through sounds, scents, and the warmth of the sun on her face. "I never imagined it could feel like this," she whispered. "I never thought I could do this." Daniel smiled, proud of her determination and courage. That day, Maya realized that her blindness did not limit her experiences. It only required her to approach them differently, to rely on her other senses and her inner strength. As word of their adventures spread, a few townspeople began to change their opinions. Some admired Maya's courage quietly, while others looked at Daniel with newfound respect for his dedication and belief in her. However, not everyone was convinced. A few remained openly critical, spreading rumors that Daniel was risking his reputation by spending so much time with Maya. Yet, these opinions mattered little to the pair. They had discovered a shared purpose: to challenge the assumptions of others and show that limitations existed only in the minds of those who refused to see possibilities. Maya's growing confidence also inspired her to try new skills. She began learning to play a musical instrument, using her keen sense of hearing to identify notes and rhythm. She experimented with tactile art, creating beautiful patterns and shapes that reflected her inner vision. Each new accomplishment brought a sense of pride, not because she sought recognition, but because she was proving to herself that she could achieve things many thought impossible. Daniel became her constant companion, mentor, and friend. He guided her when needed, offered encouragement, and celebrated every success, no matter how small. Their relationship deepened, not through dependence, but through partnership. Daniel learned from Maya as much as she learned from him. He discovered patience, creativity, and a new appreciation for the world around him. Together, they faced obstacles and turned them into opportunities for growth. One evening, as they sat by the fountain where they had first met, Maya reflected on her journey. "People still doubt me," she said softly, "but I don't care as much as I used to. I know what I can do, and that's enough." Daniel nodded, squeezing her hand gently. "Exactly. Let them doubt. You've already proven what matters most. You believe in yourself, and I believe in you." It was in these quiet moments that their bond grew strongest. They shared dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. They laughed at small jokes, celebrated small victories, and comforted each other during moments of doubt. The whispers of the town faded into the background as they focused on their own journey, building a foundation of trust, courage, and determination that would carry them through even greater challenges. Maya was no longer the girl who hesitated at the edge of experiences. She was becoming someone who faced challenges with courage, someone who refused to be defined by her blindness or the doubts of others. Daniel admired her growth, proud of the strength and determination she displayed daily. Together, they were learning that limitations exist only where belief does not, and that true courage is about facing the world with heart, resilience, and an unwavering sense of self. And so, the story continued. Two young people, bound by friendship and trust, facing a world filled with doubt and skepticism. Each step they took together brought new lessons, new triumphs, and a growing sense of hope. Though challenges lay ahead, Daniel and Maya had already proven that courage, determination, and belief in one another could overcome even the harshest judgments. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with confidence, ready to show the world that what others saw as impossible could, in fact, become reality. The town had grown accustomed to seeing Daniel and Maya together. Some had softened their views, impressed by Maya's courage and determination. Others still doubted her abilities, whispering that her accomplishments were lucky or guided by Daniel's help. Maya, however, had grown used to these murmurs. They no longer discouraged her. Each challenge she overcame strengthened her belief in herself and proved that her blindness did not define her. One morning, a poster appeared in the town square announcing a community event, a festival with games, contests, and a special challenge called the Test of Skill and Memory. The contest attracted many townspeople, young and old, and offered a prize for those who could complete it successfully. Most people assumed Maya would not participate. After all, the challenge required quick thinking, precise memory, and keen attention to detail, things they thought a blind person could never accomplish. When Daniel and Maya saw the poster, he turned to her with a smile. "Do you want to try it?" he asked. Maya hesitated, sensing the difficulty of the challenge, but then she nodded. "I want to," she said, determination shining in her voice. "I want to see what I can do." The next few days were filled with preparation. Daniel and Maya practiced together in secret, creating exercises to sharpen Maya's memory and listening skills. They used everyday objects, practiced sequences, and developed ways for her to sense patterns through sound and touch. Daniel encouraged her constantly. "You can do this," he would say. "I know it. I've seen what you can do." Maya absorbed his words, letting them fuel her confidence. Finally, the day of the festival arrived. The town was bustling with activity. Children ran with excitement, vendors called out from their stalls, and music filled the air. Daniel and Maya walked together toward the challenge area. People paused to look at them, some whispering doubts, others curious to see if she could participate. Maya ignored the murmurs. She had trained for this moment and was determined to focus on her abilities rather than the opinions of others. The challenge was set up like a complex obstacle course. Participants were required to follow a series of instructions, memorize patterns, and complete tasks in a limited amount of time. Many people struggled, forgetting sequences or misplacing objects. When it was Maya's turn, a hush fell over the crowd. People were skeptical. They expected her to fail. Daniel stood nearby, offering encouragement and keeping a calm presence. "You've got this," he said softly. Maya took a deep breath, centering herself. She relied on her other senses, listening carefully, feeling the textures of objects and trusting her memory. Step by step, she moved through the challenge, completing each task with precision. The crowd watched in stunned silence. They had expected mistakes, hesitations, or failure, but Maya moved confidently, guided by focus and determination. When she completed the final task, the judges confirmed her performance. It was perfect. She had done what many thought was impossible. The crowd erupted into applause, some cheering in amazement, others simply unable to believe what they had witnessed. Maya smiled, feeling a rush of pride and accomplishment. For the first time, she truly felt recognized not for her blindness, but for her skill, intelligence, and courage. Daniel rushed forward, hugging her warmly. "I knew you could do it," he said, tears of joy in his eyes. Maya laughed, exhilarated by the moment. "I knew I could too," she replied. From that day forward, the town began to see Maya differently. People who had doubted her abilities now expressed admiration and respect. Children looked up to her as a role model, learning that determination and courage mattered more than physical limitations. Even some of the harshest critics softened, acknowledging that Maya had proven herself in a way that could not be ignored. Yet the challenge did more than change how others viewed her. It transformed Maya's understanding of herself. She realized that obstacles were only as strong as the belief behind them. With Daniel by her side, she had found not just support, but inspiration and confidence to take on challenges she never imagined possible. Every task she completed reinforced her belief in her own strength and resilience. After the festival, Daniel and Maya spent the evening reflecting on the experience. They sat together under a large oak tree, the sounds of the festival fading into the distance. Maya spoke quietly, her voice filled with wonder. "I never imagined I could do that," she said. "I always thought my blindness would hold me back." Daniel shook his head. "You let it guide you, but it never held you back. You proved that." The festival also strengthened the bond between them. Daniel saw Maya's courage in action, her ability to remain calm under pressure, and her unwavering focus. Maya recognized Daniel's steady support, his patience, and his belief in her abilities. They realized that together, they could face challenges that would have seemed impossible alone. Their relationship had evolved beyond friendship. It was now a partnership built on mutual trust, respect, and shared determination. News of Maya's achievement spread quickly. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers came to congratulate her. They asked her how she had accomplished the challenge and listened intently as she described the methods she had used: careful listening, memory techniques, and focused attention to detail. People marveled at her intelligence and resilience. For the first time, Maya felt that she was truly seen for who she was, not defined by what she could not do, but celebrated for what she could achieve. Despite the accolades, Maya remained humble. She knew that her success was the result of hard work, preparation, and the support of someone who believed in her. She also understood that challenges would continue to come, but she felt ready to face them. The experience gave her courage to try new things, to push her limits, and to explore the world with confidence. Daniel and Maya continued to practice and set new goals. They explored more complex activities, traveled to nearby towns, and sought experiences that tested Maya's skills and confidence. Each new challenge reinforced the lessons they had learned at the festival, that perseverance, trust, and determination could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. For the town, Maya's achievement became a turning point. People began to question their assumptions about ability and limitation. Children saw that courage and focus mattered more than sight alone. Adults began to reflect on their own biases and the ways they had underestimated the potential of others. Maya's success inspired a community-wide shift in perspective, showing that barriers could be broken when determination and support came together. Through it all, Daniel remained by her side, a constant source of encouragement and strength. Their connection had grown deeper, founded on respect, admiration, and shared experiences. He had witnessed Maya's transformation from a quiet, cautious girl into a confident, capable young woman who could accomplish the impossible. And Maya, in turn, had learned the power of trust, perseverance, and the belief that she could achieve anything she set her mind to. That evening, as the festival lights dimmed and the town settled into quiet, Maya looked at Daniel and smiled. "I did something I never thought I could," she said softly, "and I did it with you here." Daniel squeezed her hand, smiling in return. "And you'll do many more impossible things," he said. "I'll always be here to cheer you on." It was a moment of triumph, not just for Maya, but for their relationship and for the community. It showed that courage and determination could overcome doubt and skepticism. It proved that limitations exist only when people allow them to. And it set the stage for even greater challenges and achievements in the future. From that day forward, Maya's story became an inspiration. The girl who had once been underestimated now stood as a symbol of perseverance and bravery. Daniel's unwavering support highlighted the importance of belief and partnership. Together, they had faced skepticism, overcome doubt, and achieved what many thought was impossible. Their journey was far from over, but this moment had cemented their place in the hearts of those who witnessed their courage. And so, their story continued, two people, bound by trust and determination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Maya had proven herself, but she knew that the real journey was just beginning. There were more obstacles to overcome, more limits to challenge, and more dreams to pursue. With Daniel by her side, she felt ready for anything. The impossible had already been achieved once. Now, the world was waiting to see what she could do next. After Maya's remarkable achievement at the festival, the town's perspective began to shift. People who had once whispered doubts now looked at her with admiration and respect. Children followed her example, learning that determination and courage mattered far more than limitations. Even the adults who had been skeptical or critical found themselves reconsidering their own beliefs about ability and potential. Maya's success had not only changed how they saw her, it had started to change how they saw themselves. For Maya, the experience was transformative. She realized that her blindness was not a barrier but a part of who she was. It shaped her perspective, made her more observant, and allowed her to approach challenges in unique ways. She had learned to trust her instincts, rely on her other senses, and approach the world with confidence and curiosity. Every accomplishment, from navigating the town independently to completing the festival challenge, reinforced her belief in herself. Daniel remained her steadfast companion throughout. He had seen Maya grow from a cautious, quiet girl into a confident, capable young woman. He had witnessed the spark in her eyes when she first conquered a challenge, the quiet determination when she refused to be limited by others' opinions, and the joy that radiated from her when she succeeded. Their bond had strengthened through every step of the journey, founded on trust, encouragement, and mutual respect. In the weeks following the festival, Maya began taking on new endeavors. She decided to help organize small community events, teaching children games that emphasized memory, listening, and creativity. She shared her skills and strategies, showing that limitations exist only in the mind and that challenges can be overcome with patience and focus. Children were eager to learn from her, inspired by her courage and achievements. Parents, too, began to recognize her influence, admiring her intelligence and leadership. The town gradually embraced Maya not just as a girl who had achieved the impossible, but as a source of inspiration. People approached her with curiosity and admiration, asking questions about how she accomplished what others thought was beyond her ability. Maya answered patiently, explaining her methods and encouraging others to believe in themselves. Her story spread beyond the town, inspiring neighboring communities and even local newspapers to cover her journey. For the first time, she was recognized not for her blindness, but for her courage, determination, and accomplishments. Daniel watched all of this with pride, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He had never sought recognition or attention, but seeing Maya's impact on the community filled him with joy. He realized that his support had been important, but the real strength had always been Maya's. She had faced doubt, overcome challenges, and proven that courage, focus, and belief in oneself could change perceptions and inspire others. One afternoon, as Maya and Daniel sat by the fountain where they had first met, they reflected on how far they had come. "It's amazing," Maya said softly. "I never imagined that I could do so much or that people would finally see me for who I am." Daniel smiled, taking her hand. "You've always had that strength. You just needed to trust yourself. I'm proud of you, Maya. You've changed so much, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you." Maya felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had faced obstacles, skepticism, and doubt, yet she had persevered. With Daniel by her side, she had discovered the power of trust, encouragement, and resilience. Their journey had shown her that nothing was impossible if she believed in herself and worked hard to achieve her goals. As time passed, Maya continued to grow and inspire. She took on larger projects in the community, helping organize events that encouraged teamwork, creativity, and courage. She spoke at schools and community gatherings, sharing her story and encouraging others to pursue their dreams despite obstacles. People who had once doubted her began to see the world differently, learning from her example that limitations are often imagined rather than real. Daniel remained her partner, supporting her endeavors and learning from her in return. He realized that Maya's courage had taught him patience, perspective, and the importance of seeing people for their true abilities rather than superficial traits. Together, they became a symbol of partnership, showing that belief in one another can achieve extraordinary results. The town's transformation was remarkable. People began to challenge their own assumptions, supporting each other in ways they had never done before. Children learned to approach tasks with determination, adults embraced new perspectives, and the entire community became more inclusive and encouraging. Maya's story had sparked a ripple effect, showing that one person's courage and perseverance could inspire an entire town to grow and change. Maya also discovered a personal sense of freedom she had never experienced before. She pursued activities she had once thought impossible, learning new skills, traveling to new places, and exploring opportunities that expanded her horizons. Each experience reinforced her independence and her belief in her own abilities. She realized that while challenges would always exist, her courage, determination, and support from Daniel enabled her to face them successfully. Their relationship deepened further during this time. Daniel and Maya shared quiet moments, laughter, and dreams for the future. They had become more than friends. They were partners in life, supporting each other, encouraging growth, and celebrating every success, large or small. Their bond inspired others to see the value of trust, encouragement, and shared determination. One evening, the town held a small ceremony to honor Maya's achievements. People gathered to celebrate her courage and determination. Children recited stories about her accomplishments, neighbors praised her resilience, and local leaders acknowledged the impact she had made. Maya stood before them with quiet confidence, feeling a sense of pride that went beyond personal achievement. She realized that her journey had touched lives, encouraged growth, and inspired belief in the impossible. Daniel stood beside her, proud and supportive. He knew that her success was the result of her own strength, courage, and perseverance. Yet, he also knew that their partnership had played an important role through encouragement, shared experiences, and mutual trust. Together, they had faced skepticism, overcome obstacles, and proven that determination and belief in oneself could achieve extraordinary results. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, Maya and Daniel walked home together. The streets were quiet, the sun setting in warm hues. Maya reflected on her journey, thinking about the challenges she had faced, the moments of doubt, and the triumphs she had achieved. She realized that she had not only grown personally, but she had also changed the way people saw her, inspiring others to believe in themselves as well. Daniel smiled at her quietly. "You've done something incredible," he said. "Not just for yourself, but for everyone who saw what you could do." Maya looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. "And I couldn't have done it without you," she replied softly. Together, they continued their walk, knowing that their journey was far from over. Challenges would continue to arise, obstacles would appear, and skepticism would persist. But Maya felt ready. She had discovered her inner strength, learned to trust her abilities, and experienced the power of partnership and encouragement. Daniel's support, their shared determination, and her own courage had shown her that nothing was impossible. Over time, Maya's story became a lasting inspiration. People spoke of her achievements for years, sharing the tale of the girl who had faced doubt, overcome obstacles, and accomplished what many thought impossible. She became a symbol of perseverance, courage, and the power of belief in oneself. And Daniel remained by her side, a constant reminder of the importance of trust, support, and shared determination. Their lives continued with quiet joy, shared adventures, and a sense of purpose. They faced new challenges together, celebrated new successes, and inspired others with their story. Maya had proven herself, not just to the town, but to herself. She had shown that courage, determination, and belief in one's abilities could overcome the harshest doubts and achieve the impossible. And so, the story of Maya and Daniel concluded, not with an ending but with a beginning. A beginning full of hope, possibilities, and the knowledge that courage, trust, and perseverance can change lives. Maya's journey had transformed her, inspired a community, and shown the world that what seemed impossible was often just waiting for someone brave enough to try. Their story would be remembered, shared, and celebrated for generations, a timeless reminder that obstacles are only as strong as the doubts we allow, and that true strength lies within courage, determination, and the belief that anything is possible.